sex women, and loyalty. The harsh truths about female infidelity. You catch your partner cheating. Society expects men to walk away and women to forgive. A double standard that shapes our relationships in profound ways. In today's video, we're breaking down the harsh truths about loyalty and infidelity across genders. Truths that most relationship coaches are too afraid to tell you. The psychology behind why men and women cheat differently isn't what you think. We'll share the story of Mark and Sarah, whose 10-year marriage crumbled overnight, revealing patterns we see repeatedly in our counseling practice. By the end, you'll understand the hidden emotional triggers that lead to infidelity and how they differ dramatically between genders. The double standard reality. The way society judges cheating reveals one of the harshest relationship double standards. When a man cheats, people often shake their heads and say, "That's just how men are." When a woman cheats, she becomes labeled as disloyal, promiscuous, or broken in some fundamental way. This pattern plays out consistently across social situations, media portrayals, and even relationship advice. Think about how we talk to women who discover their partner's cheating. The questions often sound like, "Are you sure you weren't neglecting him? Or maybe you should work on the relationship." The implicit message? It's somehow her responsibility to fix things. Yet when men discover their partner's infidelity, the advice shifts dramatically to "you can't stay with her," or "she doesn't respect you." The expectation becomes clear. Men should walk away to preserve their dignity. This connects directly to masculine pride, a powerful force that shapes how men respond to being cheated on. For many men, a partner's infidelity feels like a direct attack on their identity and worth. Consider Mark, whose wife's affair left him feeling hollow yet trapped. His friends urged him to leave immediately, while he privately longed to understand what happened and potentially rebuild. His experience mirrors countless others, where pride creates intense pressure that makes forgiveness feel impossible, even when they might genuinely want to save the relationship. When male celebrities are caught cheating, their careers often continue with minimal interruption. The narrative becomes one of temptation and mistake rather than character. When female celebrities cheat, the public reaction typically involves much harsher judgment, questioning their character and trustworthiness on a deeper level. These double standards create real psychological damage. Women often feel trapped in a cycle of forgiveness, believing they should work through a partner's repeated cheating because that's what society expects. Men feel equally trapped by the pressure to leave, even when their hearts tell them to stay and work things out. Both situations prevent people from making authentic choices based on their unique relationships. Social media amplifies these expectations to deafening levels. Relationship advice accounts often push rigid gender roles, telling women to be more forgiving while telling men to never accept disrespect. Movies and TV shows reinforce these patterns too, rarely showing men who successfully forgive infidelity without being portrayed as weak. What's interesting is how these standards are shifting among younger generations. Research shows that Gen Z and younger millennials are more likely to apply consistent standards to infidelity regardless of gender. They're questioning the traditional narratives and asking why we expect different responses based solely on gender. These expectations create relationship traps that are hard to escape. The woman who feels she must forgive might stay in a relationship where trust is permanently damaged, developing resentment that eventually destroys her emotional health. The man who feels he must leave might end an otherwise loving relationship that could have been repaired, missing the opportunity for growth and deeper connection. Perhaps most damaging is how these standards prevent honest conversations about relationship needs. When we're locked into rigid expectations about how each gender should respond to infidelity, we can't talk openly about what we actually need from our partners. The fear of judgment silences crucial discussions about satisfaction, desires, and boundaries, the very conversations that might prevent cheating in the first place. Understanding gender differences doesn't mean accepting harmful double standards. Instead, it means recognizing that infidelity and forgiveness are complex decisions that shouldn't be dictated by gender expectations. Each relationship deserves to be evaluated on its own terms, with both partners having the freedom to make choices based on their unique situation, rather than societal pressure. The psychology behind male versus female cheating. Do men and women cheat for the same reasons? This question reveals more about relationships than most of us realize. When we look beyond the surface of infidelity, we find fascinating psychological differences that explain why forgiveness plays out so differently across genders. Research consistently shows that men and women often approach cheating with different primary motivations. Men frequently cite physical attraction and opportunity as their main drivers, while women more commonly point to emotional disconnection in their primary relationship. This doesn't mean these patterns apply to everyone. Human behavior rarely fits into neat categories, but understanding these tendencies helps us make sense of infidelity's aftermath. Men often compartmentalize their experiences. Imagine separate mental filing cabinets, where physical relationships are stored in one drawer and emotional connections in another. This separation allows some men to engage in physical affairs while maintaining genuine emotional commitment to their primary partner. Consider how a man might have lunch with a colleague, engage in flirtation or even physical intimacy, then return home and genuinely connect with his partner as if the earlier event occurred in a completely different reality. Women typically experience intimacy differently. For many women, emotional and physical connections are closely intertwined, like threads woven into a single fabric, rather than separate compartments. This means that when a woman seeks physical intimacy outside her relationship, she's often already formed an emotional connection with that person. As one relationship expert notes, when women cheat, it is often because they are unhappy with something in the relationship. This leads to outsourcing needs, seeking outside the relationship what feels missing within it. Think of a relationship like a house. Instead of repairing leaks in the roof, partners install buckets elsewhere to catch the rain. Men often outsource physical variety while maintaining emotional commitment at home. Women more frequently outsource emotional connection when these needs go unmet in their primary relationship. Challenging stereotypes is important though. Not all men cheat purely for physical reasons, and not all women cheat because of emotional disconnection. Recent studies show increasing similarities in how younger generations approach infidelity, with both genders citing emotional dissatisfaction as a primary factor. As gender roles evolve, so do psychological patterns around cheating. Childhood attachment patterns significantly influence how adults handle relationship challenges. People with anxious attachment styles often fear abandonment and may cheat as a reaction to perceived rejection. Those with avoidant attachment might use infidelity to create emotional distance when relationships feel too intense. Understanding your partner's attachment style provides valuable insight into potential vulnerability to infidelity. Self-esteem needs also manifest differently in male versus female infidelity. Men often seek validation of their desirability or status through outside attention. Women more frequently seek validation of their emotional value, seeking partners who make them feel heard and appreciated. Power dynamics create another layer of complexity. When one partner holds significantly more power, whether financial, social, or emotional, it can influence not just the likelihood of cheating, but also how it's processed afterward. Understanding these psychological differences gives men valuable tools for assessing their relationships. When a woman cheats, her actions often signal a breakdown in emotional connection that happened long before physical intimacy with someone else. This understanding doesn't make betrayal less painful, but helps men recognize that female infidelity typically has deeper roots. This knowledge changes how men might approach prevention and healing. Building strong emotional connections becomes as important as maintaining physical attraction. Creating space for open communication about unmet needs becomes essential. These psychological insights don't excuse infidelity by any gender, but understanding the different paths that lead to broken trust allows for more effective prevention and informed decisions about relationship healing. The hidden patterns of female infidelity. Here's something that might surprise you. Women are generally better at hiding infidelity than men. Research consistently shows that female cheating often goes undetected longer. Understanding these patterns can help men recognize potential loyalty issues before they develop into full betrayals. Let's look at how affairs are typically discovered. Men's infidelity is frequently exposed through obvious mistakes, forgotten text messages, unexplained charges, or being spotted in public. Women, however, tend to get caught less often through these careless errors. Their affairs are more commonly revealed when they choose to confess or when the relationship has already broken down for other reasons. This difference in discovery patterns suggests women maintain greater caution when stepping outside their relationships. Women's social networks play a significant role in this concealment. While men might confide in one close friend about an affair, women often build more complex support systems. Female friends may cover for each other, providing alibis or sharing advice about avoiding detection. Consider how a group of friends might create a seemingly innocent girls' night that actually provides cover for meeting someone else, with everyone maintaining the same story if questions arise later. These networks create layers of protection that make affairs harder to discover. Digital communication patterns reveal another interesting difference. Male cheaters tend to create separate communication channels, but use them with less discipline, leaving apps open, forgetting to delete messages, or using obvious password patterns. Women typically maintain stricter boundaries between their primary relationship and outside communications. They're more likely to delete conversations immediately, use apps with disappearing messages, or maintain entirely separate digital identities. This technical discipline directly connects to their psychological approach to risk management. Psychological factors make women more cautious about exposure risks. The social consequences of female infidelity remain harsher in many communities, creating stronger incentives to avoid detection. Women typically consider the potential fallout more thoroughly before acting, which leads to more careful planning. This isn't about emotional manipulation, but rather risk assessment, weighing the potential consequences against desires. Women also manage emotional indicators differently. They often maintain normal relationship patterns even when engaged in affairs, continuing regular routines and emotional responses at home. This consistency makes it difficult for partners to spot the changes that might signal infidelity. Where men might withdraw physically or become defensive when cheating, women frequently compensate by maintaining their usual level of engagement. Opportunity differences significantly affect how cheating unfolds across genders. As one relationship expert noted, the average woman will have at least somebody will sleep with her. She doesn't have to have that much going for her. She can jump on an app and it's a bit easier for her, whereas for the average man it's not as easy. This reality means women have more potential partners available, creating more opportunities for connection outside their relationship. Men often miss the subtle signs of female detachment that precede physical cheating. While male infidelity sometimes begins with physical attraction that later develops emotional elements, women typically disconnect emotionally before seeking physical connections elsewhere. This emotional withdrawal happens in small, easily dismissed ways. Fewer personal conversations, less vulnerability, gradual withdrawal from shared future planning. This checking out emotionally phenomenon represents the most critical warning sign. When a woman begins to build emotional walls, she's creating the conditions where cheating becomes possible. She's solving her emotional needs elsewhere while maintaining the structure of the primary relationship. What should men watch for? Pay attention to changes in how she shares her inner world. Notice shifts in how she handles her phone or digital privacy. Watch for unexplained emotional distance, especially after unresolved arguments. Listen for changes in how she talks about the future, shifting from we to I in future plans. Often reveals a significant change in how she sees the relationship. The forgiveness factor. Can a relationship truly recover after someone cheats? This question haunts many couples facing the aftermath of infidelity. The path to recovery involves complex psychological factors that differ significantly between men and women. Research shows that post-infidelity relationship success rates vary by gender. Couples where the woman cheated have a notably lower recovery rate than those where the man strayed. This reflects fundamental differences in how men and women process betrayal and experience forgiveness. These differences connect to what psychologists call respect thresholds, the minimum level of respect each person requires to remain committed. Men often establish respect as a primary relationship foundation. When a woman cheats, it directly undermines this foundation. As one relationship expert explains, it's more of a lack of respect and a lack of fear of losing the relationship. This violation makes rebuilding trust particularly challenging. Women often establish different priorities in their respect thresholds, placing equal or greater emphasis on emotional connection and security. This partly explains why some women can forgive physical cheating without emotional attachment, while finding emotional affairs more threatening to the relationship core. Forgiveness after infidelity resembles trying to reassemble a shattered mirror. Even when pieces are carefully put back together, the cracks remain visible, changing how we see ourselves reflected in the relationship. When a woman forgives a man's infidelity, the relationship dynamics may shift, but his perceived masculinity isn't necessarily diminished. However, when a man forgives a woman's infidelity, it can trigger unintended consequences in attraction. One expert states, "Your inability to understand the importance of reciprocity is what makes you less masculine." This perception connects directly to the type of affair. Physical infidelity sometimes allows couples to compartmentalize the betrayal as a mistake, while emotional affairs signal deeper relationship problems. In men who forgive, this can affect how protective they appear. In evolutionary psychology terms, a partner's ability to establish boundaries signals protection capabilities. Women and men process being forgiven differently too. When a woman is forgiven for infidelity, she may evaluate whether the forgiveness came from strength or weakness. As one expert cautions, when she learns he's willing to accept the unacceptable, she now realizes unacceptable behavior will run with him and therefore there is no motivator to prevent it happening again. This highlights why boundaries must be clearly established alongside forgiveness. Social pressure significantly influences forgiveness decisions. Men often face judgment for staying with unfaithful partners, while women frequently encounter pressure to forgive their partner's infidelity. These external pressures can distort authentic personal choices. For successful reconciliation, self-respect and boundary setting prove critical regardless of gender. The person who was cheated on needs to maintain dignity, while the person who cheated must understand there are real consequences for breaking trust. Understanding the root cause provides crucial context for healing. As one expert points out, when women cheat, it often signals deeper dissatisfaction. There's something in the house that they're just not happy with, and as a result, they will cheat. Forgiveness makes most sense when the cheating partner shows genuine remorse. They take full responsibility without blame shifting. The relationship had a strong foundation before, and both commit to addressing underlying issues. Walking away becomes healthier when cheating has been repeated. The unfaithful partner shows little remorse. Trust feels impossible to rebuild, or staying requires sacrificing fundamental self-respect. The forgiveness journey requires tremendous courage, regardless of which path you choose. By understanding the psychological differences in how men and women experience both cheating and forgiveness, you gain valuable tools for navigating one of life's most painful relationship challenges. The opportunity equation. Access to potential partners isn't equal between men and women. This fact shapes relationships in ways most people don't fully recognize. When we talk about loyalty and cheating, we need to acknowledge the reality of opportunity differences. The dating landscape has transformed dramatically with technology. Dating apps have created unprecedented access to potential partners for everyone, but especially for women. This creates what we might call an attention economy, a marketplace where attention and romantic interest function as currency, with some participants having significantly more purchasing power than others. In this attention economy, women generally navigate a different landscape than men. The average woman on dating apps receives substantially more matches and messages than the average man. Men initiate romantic and sexual advances far more frequently than women. Studies show men approach women approximately 9 times more often than women approach men in social settings. The average woman will have at least somebody will sleep with her. She can jump on an app, and it's a bit easier for her. Whereas for the average man, it's not as easy. This reality creates an imbalance in options that affects relationship dynamics before they even begin. This availability of options affects loyalty in subtle ways. Having more options doesn't automatically make someone more likely to cheat. However, it creates different conditions for maintaining loyalty. A person with fewer options might stay partly due to limited alternatives. Someone with abundant options stays because they actively choose to, requiring different relationship dynamics. Opportunity affects relationships differently at various stages. In new relationships, the novelty naturally buffers against outside temptation. In middle-stage relationships around 2-5 years, when routine sets in but before deep commitment solidifies, opportunity becomes more significant. Long-term relationships face different challenges, where emotional disconnection often precedes interest in outside options. Consider James, who works closely with a female colleague on a stressful 6-month project. They stay late discussing work, sharing frustrations, and celebrating victories. Meanwhile, his partner Sarah feels increasingly disconnected as James comes home exhausted with little emotional energy left. The emotional bond with his colleague grows, not from deliberate betrayal, but from shared experience and understanding, creating vulnerability neither anticipated. Men and women typically inhabit different social environments that create distinct temptation scenarios. Men often socialize in mixed-gender work settings or activity-based groups. Women frequently maintain deeper emotional connections with friends who provide support and validation. These different social worlds mean men and women encounter potential relationship threats in different contexts. Many women cheat because they are unhappy with something in the relationship. Opportunity becomes relevant when emotional needs aren't being met. Women often connect with someone else emotionally first, especially when their partner is emotionally unavailable, busy working all the time. Perceived value in the dating marketplace significantly affects loyalty decisions. When someone believes they could easily find another partner of equal or higher quality, the barrier to leaving a troubled relationship lowers. This calculation happens subconsciously for both men and women, but manifests differently based on opportunity realities. How can men navigate this reality effectively? First, recognize that attempting to restrict your partner's options only creates resentment, not loyalty. Instead, focus on becoming the best option through continued growth and emotional presence. Create meaningful shared experiences that build connection. Develop emotional intelligence to recognize and meet your partner's core needs. Remember that true loyalty doesn't come from lack of options, but from active choice. The goal isn't to eliminate your partner's opportunities, but to create a relationship so fulfilling that outside options hold little appeal. By understanding the opportunity equation, rather than fearing it, you gain the power to build a relationship that thrives even in a world of abundant alternatives. Building genuine loyalty. What creates true loyalty beyond social expectations and rules? It's a question worth asking, because genuine loyalty isn't about following society's script. It's about choosing your partner every day even when temptation exists. Sexual satisfaction and emotional presence form twin pillars of female loyalty. When physical intimacy works well, it creates a powerful connection that strengthens commitment, while emotional availability builds the deeper bonds that maintain relationships long-term. This combination creates a positive feedback loop of connection. As one relationship expert explains, sexual fulfillment addresses physical needs, but emotional presence addresses the soul of the relationship. Women need partners who are attentive to both aspects. Men who provide attentiveness to desires while also being mentally present during their time together. Communication patterns function like a relationship's immune system. They either protect the bond or leave it vulnerable. Couples who practice active listening build resilience against outside threats. Consider how successful couples implement appreciation rituals, small moments of acknowledgement that reinforce their connection daily. One couple described instituting a practice where they share 3 specific appreciations before discussing any relationship concerns, creating a foundation of goodwill that makes problem-solving productive rather than combative. Relationships are living gardens, not statues, notes one expert. They require daily tending, not occasional polishing. This gardening metaphor captures the essence of loyalty building. Consistent attention to small needs creates an environment where connection thrives naturally. The healthiest relationships receive regular maintenance through focused conversations, technology-free time together, and genuine curiosity about each other's evolving thoughts and feelings. Mutual respect and clear boundaries create the security needed for loyalty to flourish. Every healthy relationship needs guidelines that define acceptable behavior while providing enough freedom for individual growth. When partners establish these parameters together through open discussion, they create a secure framework that allows vulnerability without fear. Respect means valuing your partner's feelings, time, and needs as much as your own, while maintaining the authenticity that attracted them initially. Understanding your partner's specific loyalty triggers gives you a tremendous advantage. Each person has different actions that make them feel secure and valued. For some, it's quality time without distractions. For others, it's feeling protected and prioritized. Pay attention to when your partner seems most connected. These moments reveal what builds loyalty for them specifically. Transparency functions as the relationship's oxygen supply. Without it, connection suffocates. Regular check-ins about satisfaction, emotionally, physically, and practically, prevent partners from seeking fulfillment elsewhere. Make these conversations normal rather than confrontational. When needs remain unexpressed, one expert emphasizes, they don't disappear, they simply find other outlets. Self-development strengthens relationship commitment. By preventing stagnation, partners who continue growing individually bring new energy and perspectives to the relationship, demonstrating investment in the future you'll share together. The strongest relationships aren't built on obligation or fear, but on mutual satisfaction and respect. By focusing on emotional presence, clear communication, and meeting each other's core needs, you create conditions where loyalty emerges naturally from genuine connection rather than external pressure. As relationship expert John Gottman notes, every positive thing you do in your relationship is foreplay. This captures the essence of loyalty building. Each moment of attention, respect, and care creates the relationship environment where faithfulness becomes the natural choice. Throughout this video, we've examined how loyalty and infidelity work differently across genders. Men and women often cheat for different reasons, hide it differently, and face different expectations when it happens. Understanding these patterns gives you power. Recognizing women's loyalty to sexually satisfying partners allows you to make better relationship choices. The healthiest approach combines strength with emotional intelligence. Know when to walk away. Walking away is often necessary when a woman cheats, while building connections that prevent infidelity. Ask yourself, are you creating the kind of relationship that inspires loyalty? Your understanding of these dynamics doesn't just protect you, it transforms how you approach love itself.